Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and Part 5 to What If Clara Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, all the Google Docs, and everything the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time with Aaron and the introduction to Alexandria. And once he gets entered into the barn, Rick and everybody is still untrustworthy because of what they've been through. But whenever Aaron starts explaining and talking about Alexandria, Clara, for one, thinks that it's a great opportunity for them to finally get a life and that it should be worth them going and everything. She trusts it. And Maggie and Beth, since it's not Maggie and Sasha this time, are the ones that found Aaron and vouch for him also, along with almost everybody in the group. And Rick, being a lighter person, he likely wouldn't punch Aaron, but even if he did, I feel that overall, everybody would be far more trusting of Aaron in this timeline. So, we get Aaron and Eric reuniting and the entrance into Alexandria. Rick has a similar interview with Deanna, except I feel that it would be much lighter here, considering Rick. But considering he still bit a guy's throat out and did a bunch of other things, it'd be near the same, just lightened down a little bit, you know? And then Clara has an interview, which I've never really touched upon in a story. She would tell Deanna of her troubled past, her husband, and how Rick saved her from ultimately ending her life, and how she became a stronger person because of it. Uniting her and several other people to a united front, Rick is no ordinary man. He is a great man. And he brought her and a bunch of other people together. People that sacrificed themselves, fighting through things. He saved her. And for that, she could not be more grateful. And Deanna says, "You look like you have not changed a day in your life since this whole mess began. And it seems like you need a long rest, wash up, and relaxation." And Deanna says, "Enjoy yourself here. You will definitely find the peace and closure that you've been looking for. Rick did the right thing by saving you. He led you here. I would be very grateful as well if I were in your shoes." And with that, everybody settles in to Alexandria. Daryl and Beth start the relationship that started to blossom. And many people, I'm going to keep saying this, critique me saying that Daryl and Beth would get together. Their actors were together. If Beth was alive longer, she would have gotten with Daryl eventually. I get that people thought it was a brother and sister dynamic, but considering their actors were together, I'm just going to pull the plug on that and say every time Daryl and Beth would get together, case closed. Now, I did 3 years ago make the mistake of saying that Katniss would magically appear, not knowing who she was, and she would be the kid, but that's beside the point. When I touch upon stories with Beth and Daryl directly, I'll say what happens with them having a kid, but until then, they're just a relationship. So, with that said, Tyrese and Michonne also become a relationship, just like the comics. And with Tyrese alive, Sasha's character is also not as violent. Although she is still a violent person because of Bob, she is still much lighter because Tyrese is still alive. Rick settles in and shaves that season 5 beard and gets his hair cut by Jesse. And then Rick looks across the house and realizes that Clara is there too, because Carl and likely Michonne would be there too. And he sees a very different Clara, even more different than when she was at the prison and got a shower and everything. This is a much lighter, cleaner, much different looking Clara. She looks freaking beautiful. It's amazing. And Jesse says, getting a sort of hint from this, "I'll leave you two alone." Clara says, "How are you feeling, Rick?" I couldn't have felt much more better. Do I look better? And Rick says, if I could compare you to when I first met you to right now, I think I was looking at two different people. And then another feeling blossoms over Rick. And he goes in and he kisses Clara right on the cheek, just like Jesse. Clara is absolutely taken aback by this because, sure, she might have guessed that Rick was maybe developing feelings from the way he looked at her at the prison and now looking at her and, saying what he just said. But she had no idea that he was becoming in love with her. She didn't even have true romantic feelings. She appreciated and liked Rick, maybe a small bit of romantic feeling here and there, but she would have never guessed that Rick was in love with her. Did her looks really affect him that much? She didn't care about the way that she looked since before this all started. But she does smile and says, I never would have expected this coming from you, Rick. And hope that this is the place you can finally relax and be happy. She doesn't really say anything about the kiss, but she does smile just like Jesse. And the two just go about their business. Rick and Michonne become the constables or the cops, and Clara and Jesse become good friends over time, appreciating Jesse's children, the work that they do. And Clara would likely help Jesse along with her jobs and, managing different parts of Alexandria. Similar things to Jesse and maybe a few other people. Jesse's friends. It's that kind of thing. Glenn, Noah, and Tara would go on the missions with Aiden and Nicholas, and that would all go the same with Glenn punching Aiden, and yeah. Carol, Daryl, and Rick would also have the meeting outside the walls to discuss how weak Alexandria is and that they might have to take the community over. Abraham would also be on the construction team, and that would go the whole same. And then we would get the mission with Noah, Eugene, Tara, Noah, Glenn, and Nicholas, and that whole thing, and all that. And Tara would still get injured and have to be monitored by Rosita and everybody else. But Beth would be there alongside the construction, not the construction team, but Noah and Glenn and everybody. So she would be there to help Noah so he doesn't die in this timeline. Now, I know I've had situations like Noah or Bob or Tyrese or T-Dog still end up dying no matter how many people, but realistically, that shouldn't have happened at all. And I honestly went about that like the completely wrong way. Because with so many people, the odds of them dying to walkers with over the amount of people they had in canon would almost be little to none. So we're going to go about that in a different way this timeline. But you guys probably asking, that's one person, Nick. And what about Tyrese? Does that mean that he's here or where is he? I feel that he would be on the construction team, but with Beth helping Noah and them going about the plan a much different direction, Aiden would still die. And Glenn knowing that Nicholas is going to do something stupid, and Beth being there with Noah and himself, and Eugene and everybody else, I feel that Nicholas would be the one to die in the place of Noah. So overall, taking into factor a much more logical way to go about this, Noah lives, Beth lives, Tyrese is with the construction team. It's just a different way of rerouting this, so it's not always the same for one thing, and it's about going it a more logical way. Meanwhile, Gabriel tries to rat out the group, or he does rat out the group, with Maggie listening in. And then Carol has the interaction with Sam, trying to scare him and telling him to steal cookies and figuring out that Pete is abusing him and Jesse. And Rick is told about it, and he goes directly to the one person who's closest to Jesse and feels like, especially him getting closer to her, she might be able to help. Clara. And once Clara hears about this, she's like, I'm good friends with Jesse, Rick, but she cut your hair for crying out loud. You seem to have feelings for her. I get that something is starting to brew between us, but surely you can take care of it, right? You're the leader. Rick says, true, but He's also noticed that Clara has grown into a more developing character since the first day they met. And if there's anyone he trusts more to do this, it's her. Feelings have started brewing between them. He started understanding Clara more. She killed a claimer who was going to hurt his own son, for crying out loud, and saved him from those crazy people at Terminus. Yeah, he could have done a bunch of those things, but at least Clara was there. And it's not just about feeling something more, personal between the two. It's about the fact that Rick trusts Clara so much more, and that he knows Clara has the potential to do great things just like him. And her being friends with Jesse and knowing a bunch about what's going on, he trusts that she can take care of this, while he makes sure nothing else happens in Alexandria. And if it truly comes down to it, he'll be right by her side to help her all the way. Clara smiles and says, "Thank you, Rick. I greatly appreciate everything you've done for me." And yeah, maybe one day we'll understand what these feelings are between us. Maybe. I'll make sure to take care of this between Jesse and Pete and Sam. Hope to see you there if it all goes south. Hopefully it doesn't. And so, Clara comes to Jesse's house and confronts her. With Clara confronting Jesse about this problem instead of someone like Carol or Rosita or Rick, will it all go south like always? Will it be confronted easier because of Clara? Especially this new Clara, who's not a scaredy cat anymore, just like Carol used to be. Or will this go completely south, ending in a very bad situation for Clara, and Rick having to step in? And also, the dark ending with Rick and Jesse in the Dale story. Can circles of that come here? What will happen in the future progression of Clara's survival?
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out!